But there comes the problem: the harmful effects of using natural chakra without proper synchronization. She would turn into a stone statue. That wasn't something she or anyone in her family desired. The body contained two types of energies, physical and spiritual. Combining both of these, ninja are able to mold chakra. All around in nature, a different type of energy, known as natural energy, is present. If someone were to be able to draw on this natural energy and maintain a balance between all three types of energies, then present in his or her body, that person will have a virtually infinite amount of natural chakra for as long as he can keep drawing on the energy of nature. But if they can't maintain that balance and let it overwhelm them, their spiritual and physical energies will be purged by the natural energy, turning them into whatever element they had been drawing the energy from, which is mostly the earth, thus stone. Her mother had told them that Minato and Jiraiya had received special training on Mount Myoboku to be able to utilize natural chakra, which mostly consisted of teaching them how to gather and control that energy from what she understood. But Natsumi absolutely refused to sign the Toad contract and resemble the fourth Hokage any more than she already did. She knew it was childish for her to reject a summoning contract just on that basis, but she didn't care. She would find some other way to become stronger without resembling the fourth. That was the reason she gave to her mother and sister anyway. Actually, she just didn't like toads. They were ugly. Kushina would have lectured her on how ninja were supposed to use any means necessary to reach their goals, but the fact that there was another toad summoner alive, and the toads possibly had loyalty towards Konoha, due to Minato and Jiraiya, prevented her from opposing Natsumi's rejection. No one in the family knew of this, but being the only Uzumaki female to not have red hair made Natsumi feel like an outsider. There was no hostility towards her from anyone. In fact, if anything, Kasumi and Kushina both clung to her whenever possible. Though, that was mostly because they wanted to make up for the 10 years of her life that she had lived alone. They loved her and she knew it. But she still didn't want to be a burden to anyone. She wanted to belong with them. For that, she needed to be as strong as the rest of them. A chain is as strong as its weakest link, and she refused to be the cause of downfall for her family, which was why she was going to become strong. Since training with toads was out for her, that left her with the problem of being able to collect and control nature chakra without special training. Kasumi had helped her as much as she could, and in the end she had been able to provide her with a special version of the reinforcement seal. The seal didn't do much except collect large quantities of natural energy from the surroundings, followed up by Natsumi's extremely strong restraining seals. A steady and extremely low amount of natural energy was constantly being pumped into her system, which she was slowly but surely getting used to. The restraining seals were made with 5 different levels. The lowest one provided her with inconsiderable amounts of natural energy, which she could subconsciously convert into chakra without any noticeable effort. This was only meant to make her body get used to nature chakra. Once she was used to the first level, the second level could pump in a lot more natural energy, boosting her chakra reserves to double of what they were. It put a little strain on her to keep the level active, but she could keep it permanently active without much trouble as of now. The third level was the one she was currently maintaining and trying to master at a subconscious level, but it was proving to be much harder than expected. Within every 2 to 3 hours she had to deactivate the seal and rest for a few minutes before she could resume to process. Otherwise, she started to struggle with maintaining the balance between the 3 different energies, and the aura of risk turning into a stone statue got higher. Third level boosted her to 4 times her current reserves, which was what a normal Uzumaki girl was supposed to have. Cage level reserves. The next level, 4th, was twice as powerful as 3rd, boosting her reserves to twice that of any regular Uzumaki girl. She could maintain it for a maximum of 5 minutes before risking mutation. She didn't risk trying the 5th level yet, which will open up all the restraints completely, letting nature energy flow through her without any seals blocking it. She assumed to be able to enter Toad Sage mode once she masters the 5th level, if she manages to do it. From what Kushina had told them, when using Toad Sage mode, Minato had shown himself to have more than Jinchuriki level of chakra reserves. It was somewhat impressive considering by default he had only cage level chakra reserves, same as what a normal 16-year-old Uzumaki girl has. Comparatively, her own reserves with the 5th level of the seal could possibly rival Kasumi's. The thought made her giddy, as without a doubt Kasumi had the largest amount of chakra in the elemental nations. Ignoring the beige? Of course, in Minato's case, he had to use the 2 Toad Sages to collect natural energy while moving, which Natsumi didn't have to because of the seals placed on her body, allowing her to automatically collect natural energy. She didn't let anything put her down though. Someday soon I'll master the 5th level, no matter what it takes. Then, I will finally be able to fight alongside Naruto-kun and Kasumi-chan without being a burden. A few minutes later, once they had all gathered at the gates of the Uzumaki compound, Kushina started explaining her plans to the 3 siblings and Nina. All right, since this is probably the only completely safe place in the entire village for us to discuss private matters, I'll tell you our entire plan before we leave. First, we'll go to the Hawkage Tower and take up as many missions as possible. Then we will send out shadow clones to take care of those missions. Nina-san, you'll wait outside the tower. Since there is no way for the originals to be distinguished from the Kaj Bunshin unless a good hit is landed, with hundreds of our copies running around doing various tasks around the village, we will be virtually untraceable. During the time our clones are doing these missions, the Hawkage will be unable to use his crystal ball to lock on to our chakra signatures even when we're outside the compound, as there will be hundreds of copies with that signature spread throughout the village. Even then, we will try to complete our task as soon as we possible to avoid suspicion. All 4 of them nodded, taking in everything she said. After giving a moment for them to absorb her reasoning, Kushina continued with her instructions. Our task is to infiltrate the Kurama clan compound, located in the outskirts of the village. They've been having their growth stunted constantly by Konoha and the Hokage, as they are afraid of their Kekai Genkai. She proceeded to explain to them how the Kurama clan's Kekai Genkai enabled those that awakened it to be able to make their genjutsu irresistible, and even manifest some of the physical effects of the genjutsu in the real world. It was a truly terrifying power, and extremely dangerous if left unchecked. Such frightening power was not without its drawbacks, however. The user can rarely control the full extent of their abilities, and as such their subconscious will often regulate that power, leading to the creation of a second personality in control of that power. This personality might then overwhelm the original, turning the individual into someone that's a danger to everyone around them. This has led to the isolation of the Kurama clan from the rest of Konoha. As it is now, they're quite detached, and have been debating for a while whether it would be a good idea to just leave this village to somewhere where their abilities and talents are more respected. Fortunately for us, the village would never allow any of its clan to just leave the village and probably go join their enemies. If they try to leave, the Kurama clan will be eradicated, and they know it too, so they'll probably be willing to accept our help. They're quite upset with the sealing of the latest heiress's powers as well. But the Hawkage absolutely refused to leave her unchecked, no matter how much they tried to convince him that they will train her to learn and control her powers. Naruto thought about it for a bit, but still some parts of her explanation didn't make sense to him. But Taya-chan, didn't you say that the second personality controls the vast powers of the Kurama bloodline? And if so, no matter how much training they give her, it wouldn't really make that much of a difference to the second personality, right? That's where we come in, Naruto-koi, she grinned, by giving them the offer to join us when we leave to establish Uzu Shogakure, and offering their heiress complete access to her full powers without the risk of killing all her comrades. We will ensure their loyalty to us. We, the Uzumaki, are the best seal experts in the elemental nations. If I'm given enough time, I can create mental barriers around the second personality of the heiress, rendering it useless. Wouldn't that make her powers unusable? And how is it any different than sealing away her powers? Naruto questioned. I'm getting there. That is actually true, and exactly what Hokage tried to do, but his seal was much weaker than what I'm going to make. Mine will be almost unbreakable by anyone but myself. Due to the alternative personality usually being the opposite of the real personality and made up of suppressed emotions, it is often extremely dark and harmful, and more often than not it doesn't agree with whatever the first personality wants. After we're done sealing it away, we will need to provide her with another alternative personality that will control her powers. That's where you come in, Naruto-kun. Naruto raised his eyebrows in surprise. What could he possibly do there? He was no psychiatrist. Kushina smiled at him, seeing his confusion. Don't worry. It's just because out of all of us you are the craftiest and would be the best suited to design genjutsu, which was the job of that second personality. How exactly do you plan on sealing away my personality inside the Kurama heiress? Naruto asked with no small hint of doubt in his voice. Kushina giggled. Despite being a genius at times, you take a long time to learn some things, don't you? If Kage Bunshin replicates the soul, how in the world do you think can they not replicate the personality? Realization dawned upon his face as a wide grin spread on it. Of course, she was going to seal his shadow clone inside the Kurama heiress. That's a great idea. And my shadow clone will think just like me, so I guess it'll be better than whatever fucked up second personality it's going to replace. Kushina nodded. Be prepared though, if they refuse, or there is a chance of them telling the Hokage about our plan to leave. If that happens, we will need to kill them all, every last one who knows of it. Do you all understand? After a collective chorus of yes ma'am, she proceeded. Good, now let's get this over with. 30 minutes later, Hokage office. In their apprehension of capturing Anko, the Uzumaki had unfortunately forgotten all about Tora the cat demon, who had been wandering the town after fleeing from the battle scene. Fortunately, though, it was fairly easy to locate and reacquire the cat. After capturing Tora and making a mental note not to forget about little things in the future, the Uzumaki proceeded to the Hokage office for the next stage of the plan, taking up a lot missions to use as a distraction from their real task. Instead of waiting, Nina had suggested scouting the area near the Kurama compound. Kushina had seen no problem with it, so she had allowed her to leave. Sarutobi rubbed his temples as his headache seemed to overwhelm him. After giving it much thought, he had asked Inoichi Yamanaka to take a peek in Jiraiya's mind to find out what he was in Konoha for. Unfortunately, it seemed that Jiraiya had various seals put on him that blocked anyone from entering his mindscape and potentially stealing sensitive information. Sarutobi could tell by the design that they were made by Jiraiya, hence it wasn't Kushina responsible for it this time. The Toad Sage had done that to protect Konoha's secrets, of course, but right now it was working against them. Sarutobi didn't know if he should be happy that Jiraiya was so careful with their secrets, or mad that there was now no way for him to acquire the information except to wait till his student woke up. He had sent an ambush squad to retrieve Tsunade though, but he wasn't sure if she will come. Chai shouldn't have been so negligent with letting her do whatever she wanted. A knock to his door pulled him out of his reverie. Ah, Naruto-kun, Kasumi-chan, Natsumi-chan. So nice to see you all here today. I suppose your missions went well. In case you forgot, Kushina interrupted, I'm supposed to be the team leader here, and you're supposed to ask me questions like that. Not my students. Sarutobi merely gave her a mysterious smile. Who knows how long the older generation will last? I prefer to address the future generation, as they will be the ones to carry on our will of fire. Somehow, they were able to suppress their laughter at Sarutobi, the old fossil, referring to Kushina as the older generation while he was the only one in the room with wrinkled skin. That took all their effort though, preventing them from responding. I wasn't expecting you all to complete your missions yet, and I noticed you have taught these genin Kage Bunshin, Kenjutsu. He had seen them use it to do the D-rank missions they had taken previously from his crystal ball. Care to give an explanation, Kushina-chan? He reprimanded Kushina sternly, but it didn't have the desired effect. Kushina smiled as she offhandedly explained herself, knowing that this was going to come sooner or later. Don't forget that the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu was registered in your Forbidden Scroll by Minato. Who got it from me? And I learned it from my clan archives. What is left of them anyway? So it's a technique that belongs to the Uzumaki clan, which Konoha is using thanks to my ex-husband giving it to you. Extra emphasis on ex. Even then you can't deny the fact that the technique belongs to the Uzumaki before it ever became a Konoha Kinjutsu. Thus you have no right to tell me whether or not I should teach the Uzumaki heirs their own techniques or not. Sarutobi frowned at her explanation, though her response wasn't entirely unexpected. A simple, "I'm sorry" couldn't have hurt. That may be Kushina, but don't forget, that technique has some risks and is a Kinjutsu for a reason. He tried to reason with her. Kushina shrugged nonchalantly. The Uzumaki don't risk anything from using Kage Bunshin. It is custom made for us. By us, after all. For someone with the Uzumaki reserves and vitality, there is nothing to worry about. So those are some lame excuses. She murmured the last part, which Sarutobi pretended to ignore. Sendai nodded at her, not bothering to argue anymore. She obviously knew what she was doing, and he had better things to do than argue over something he had no chance of winning at. Fine, do whatever you want with your students, but don't forget, you will be held responsible if anything happens to them. He reminded her. Why don't we just move on to business, Hokage-san? She asked tiredly. Wasting time was not something she liked, especially when it is being wasted by arguing with one of the slimiest old bastards to ever walk on Earth. A few minutes later, after talking, arguing, bitching with Sarutobi, Kushina finally managed to take up all the D-rank missions that were available for the day, and proceeded to send batches of her team's Kage Bunshins for each task. A total of 180 D-rank missions were assigned to 1,014 Kage Bunshin, 180 teams consisting of 2 squads of Natsumi, Kasumi, Kasuma, and Naruto clones. They created 250 Kage Bunshin each as a backup, just in case some clones dispel before completing their missions. Natsumi was left panting after the ordeal. While her seal provided her with enough chakra to create the required number of clones, it put a lot of stress on her body, as she had to activate level 4, Jinchuriki level, or what could be considered twice the normal Uzumaki reserves, to be able to match up to others in her family. Your seal is coming along nicely, Natsu-chan? Naruto asked with a grin. She smiled as she nodded at her brother. Yeah, it will take me some time getting used to, but it removes one of my major handicaps, partially anyway. Over time, all the natural chakra flowing through me will also boost my normal chakra reserves, as the coils are going to be regularly stressed and expanded, which will make me feel sore on a regular basis, she mentally added with a grimace. Yes, but don't forget the downsides of nature chakra. Please don't overdo it. Natsumi nodded at her brother as she deactivated the seal and started healing herself of the minor injuries and burns caused due to overuse of chakra, which she was not supposed to have, and thus her body wasn't able to handle as well. Once done, she reactivated the seal, now at level 3. That was another problem. She couldn't use her medical jutsu, or any jutsu that needed chakra control properly, which was basically her entire arsenal except a select few. The good thing was that Kage Bunshin was chakra intensive, and the Kage Bunshin she created could be used for training in chakra control, which she was trying to utilize to their full potential. But sadly, the progress wasn't as fast as she would have liked. After a few minutes of rest to recover from creating so many shadow clones, they proceeded to meet up with Nina, who was supposedly scouting for any unexpected trouble near the village outskirts. To avoid any unfortunate run-in with Konoha ninja on their way, Kushina cast a barrier around the original team to hide their presence, and Kasumi used the Hiraishin seal placed on Nina's clothes to teleport them to her location. Near Kurama Compound. Naruto, Kasumi, Kushina, and Natsumi arrived at Nina's location, where she started to brief them in about her observations. Well, there seemed to be some Ambu patrol around the compound, for unknown purposes. Though, from their patterns it appears to me they are paying more attention to the compound itself than the surroundings. Thus, they are there to probably guard someone in that compound, or keep track of the Kurama clan. Kushina and others thought about it as they looked at Nina expectantly for her to continue. It seemed the Hawkage saw them as a threat, and thus had them under constant surveillance. Surely, the Kurama clan members should have noticed this by now as well, which made their job much easier. If they knew that the Hawkage saw them as a threat, they probably were aware of the fact that the threats in a ninja village were often dealt with, sooner or later. From what I can see with my Byakugan, there are 2 Ambu squads stationed in the area, including 2 medics. Nina added. Kushina nodded, accepting her report. That means there are 6 combat specialists and 2 medics. She contemplated her options. It just wasn't possible to knock them all out and not make the Hawkage suspicious of what's going on here. They could kill all of them, but that would attract too much attention of the authorities. Namely, the Hawkage and the Council. After all, it would take someone fairly strong to take down 2 entire squads of Ambu without anyone noticing. Someone of that level would prompt investigation, which would mean the Kurama clan members might be interrogated. If their mission did succeed, then that would mean the Kurama would know about their plans to leave the village, and interrogation would expose their plans, and that would fuck their chances up. Big time! This just got a lot more complicated. Nina, I want you to tell me what each of them looks like, she breathed out. Nina nodded as she began describing their appearances. Since Kushina used to be an Ambu captain herself, until recently, she knew most of the people who worked in that division. The 5th person Nina described caught Kushina's attention. Light brown hair in a ponytail, large D-cup breasts, petite build, cute face and innocent brown eyes. She knew of only one Ambu with that description. Takane Kurama had first caught her attention because she looked way too innocent to be an Ambu. There was no way someone's eyes can show so much innocence when their job is to kill people. Innocent and wicked alike. Over time, though, she learned that Takane hadn't killed anyone. Ever. It was the weirdest thing she had ever witnessed in her career as a kunoichi. How in the world could anyone get an Ambu without making her first kill? It took a little prodding, but Kushina found the reason for it: overwhelming skill. Ninja always preferred to capture over death, as it gave them the chance to interrogate the victim and find out any useful information. It also gave their village a potential bargaining chip. But capture mostly wasn't possible, especially for enemies who were skilled at ninja arts, which is the case in most of the missions Ambu handle. However tightly you bind them, there was a chance they might break it off. But apparently, Takane Kurama never failed to capture, so she never needed to kill. That was not to say she can't kill, though. It was yet to be seen. As far as the assassinations were concerned, since she never worked solo, her squad mates had to perform that. But they didn't mind, seeing mostly the targets were immobilized and helpless by Takane's genjutsu. Takane Kurama was quite simply the same to Kurama clan as Itachi Uchiha was to Uchiha clan. Of course, she didn't massacre her clan, but the Kurama weren't stuck-up assholes either. But the main difference between Itachi and Takane was entirely different. While Itachi was known for being completely loyal to the village, at least till he wiped off the Uchiha, Takane despised the village. The only reason she was in the Ambu was because having a member in Ambu gave Kurama clan more influence, and if anything, she wanted to support her clan and family. It hurt Kushina more than anything to see the 16-year-old Takane possess more innocence than both her 12-year-old twins and 14-year-old daughter combined. It was a constant reminder of the fact that they had been pushed into the life of killers without any given choice, just because they were born in a ninja village, and because of her. Of course, if she didn't train them to be ninja, they would have died for sure. But that didn't stop her from questioning her methods. Takane wasn't weak, but she still had her innocence. Were her methods to protect her children flawed? Could she have done better? She pushed those thoughts aside, though. It wouldn't help to think about this kind of things right now. I know the one with light brown hair and a ponytail, small body and big boobies. Her name is Takane Kurama. Avoid confronting her. I will deal with her personally. If you do face her though by any chance, don't kill her unless absolutely necessary. It won't do to kill the best fighter of our possible allies before forming an alliance. And she might actually help us out. For now, I want all of you to take up positions necessary to kill your targets without alerting them of your presence. And constantly check for genjutsu every few seconds, even if you think you aren't caught in one. Before she could continue, though, please give me the Haiga. Please, 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 please. Nina practically begged, down on her knees in front of Kushina. Adorable pout of her face, and the biggest puppy dog eyes that Kushina had ever seen. The fact that puppies don't have bikugen doesn't matter. All right, you can have both the Haiga, Nina-san. Kushina answered, slightly taken aback by how genuine her begging was. This was followed up by a big whoop of joy from Nina, before Kushina coughed to restore the serious atmosphere, secretly hoping the Ambu didn't hear Nina's whoop through her barrier. I'll pretend not to hear the Higa's cries for mercy, which I'm sure will come. Natsumi, I want you to deal with the two medics. Since you have experience in that field, you will be able to handle them best. And who knows, you might learn some tricks from watching them fight. She grinned at her daughter as she said this. Natsumi nodded with a smile, though she knew perfectly well why Kushina gave her the medics as target. The medics in the Ambu squads were mostly at Shinin level or so in combat. They were there just for the purpose of providing medical attention, and otherwise avoided combat. So, since Natsumi was the weakest of the group for now, the logical choice would be to give her the weakest opponents. Kushina continued her orders, a little bit disappointed in herself for not being able to make Natsumi believe into thinking she was being honest. She was, though, kind of. Alright, Kasumi will go handle the one farthest from our current location. From what I know of him, he's extremely skilled in deciphering his opponent's moves and seeing through traps and tricks, so be careful. Naruto, you will be fighting two Ambu alone. They are both extremely skilled. Cow is ninjutsu specialist, and Tiger is taijutsu. But they both act like idiots. Take advantage of it, if at all possible. I want you to be extremely careful, okay? I have full confidence in your abilities, but each of them is much tougher than Anko. And they will be working as a team against you. Don't do anything reckless, got it? Don't worry, Kachan, I'll be fine, believe it, he grinned. Yeah, that. Don't get too overconfident. Kushina rubbed her forehead. I'm going to make a barrier around this area to conceal the chakra spikes and prevent the Ambu from possibly alerting anyone else, she said as she went through intricate designs on a seal tag, which she placed on the ground. I will have to place 3 more of these before the barrier can take effect. Meanwhile, I want you all to sneak up and hide in appropriate positions to ambush your targets. You will start once these, she said as she handed them each a small slip of paper. Start glowing. After waiting for any questions and receiving none, she proceeded to create her usual barrier around herself that concealed her presence while moving, and then headed off to place the rest of the tags around the area to erect the bigger barrier. A few minutes later, Takane Kurama was not happy at all. The only reason she had joined the Ambu was to give some much-needed influence and respect to the Kurama clan, and now she was basically the Hokage's bitch. The Kurama were treated in Konoha like outsiders. They were not trusted by anyone. Even by the village leader didn't trust them, who she thought was a senile old asshole. Seriously, what did they ever do to deserve this? Sure, their Kekai Genkai was a bit unstable, but wasn't the entire Uchiha clan unstable too? And they were treated with respect, so why not the Kurama? Apparently, there were rumors going around the village that the Kurama Kekai Genkai is this amazingly powerful super technique, which kills everyone around them. So obviously, no one would want to go near them. The isolation wasn't just social either. Any economic establishments the Kurama owned were economically starving as well. No one wanted to risk going there and getting trapped in the Kurama Jinjutsu. It was completely stupid and unreasonable, which makes perfect sense to the villagers of Konoha. Kurama were bad omen. Their summons, black crows, just added to their belief of them being bad omen as well. As if that wasn't enough, as an Anbu, it was her duty to do anything the Hokage commanded. Right now, her mission was to keep an eye on the Kurama clan mansion. Yeah, she was ordered to spy on her own family, and she was doing it because she was the Hokage's bitch. Fuck that bastard. If I ever get the chance, I will make him my first kill for sure. If only she could go against the orders and tell the Hokage to piss off. But there was only one person who had the balls to pull that off. She really admired Kushina because of that. That woman knew what she wanted, and there was nothing you could do to stop her. But Takane was neither a clan head, nor a cage-level kunoichi. She knew she couldn't do what Kushina does. But still, this sucks, she whispered to herself. Yeah. She rolled her eyes. Great, now the loneliness has caused her to develop multiple personalities. To be honest, she didn't mind. At least she could now talk to someone while on these completely idiotic missions. Like spying on her own clan, which was completely isolated and screamed of loneliness. So, what do you think of this assignment? It sucks, right? I mean, come on. I'm spying on my own family. I joined this organization for them, and now I'm doing the exact opposite. It sure does. But what are you going to do? The other her responded. Not seeing anything wrong with telling herself her plans, she proceeded. Well, duh. Since our Ares is kind of sealed and kicked out of ninja forces, and I'm the most powerful Kurama who is basically now the Hokage's bitch, we are fucked. We can't do anything. I wish I was more like Kushina-sama. She's so brave and... Kushina laughed softly at that, causing Takane to spin around in alarm as she realized she wasn't talking to herself. Show yourself, she hissed. Not that she expected it to work. She was already waving her genjutsu internally. It wouldn't be long till it takes effect. Relax, Takane-san. Wasn't it you who just said you admired me? Sort of. Kushina smirked as she dropped her personal barrier, revealing herself to Takane. Takane stopped her genjutsu before it could take effect, surprised beyond belief that she was stupid enough to think she was talking to herself. Out loud, and she was using swear words too. Please don't tell anyone about this, she pleaded to Kushina, using her big brown innocent puppy dog eyes to full effect, embarrassed that not only had someone caught her swearing, she had also been caught twatting against the village, which could be used to get her executed. Kushina giggled at the younger Anbu's desperate attempt. Kasumi and Natsumi used those eyes on her so many times that it really didn't have the desired effect on her anymore. And she had just survived the Baikugan version of the jutsu, so there was no way she was going to fall to this. Relax. No one will know of what you said here, except maybe a personal joke between me and my family. Takane looked horrified. You wouldn't. Hey, let's discuss this later, okay? Why don't you continue where you left off? I'm so brave and... Kushina smirked. Takane blushed as she looked away. Well, it's just that. You could do things I never had the courage to. I know you would never do something like I'm doing right now, and I couldn't even speak a word of protest when I was given the order. I was afraid of being sent to a Biki to be disciplined, like Hayate. She shivered as she remembered what happened to Yagao's boyfriend. Hayate had tried to stop his Anbu partner from killing a newborn on a mission, offering to adopt it instead. But they were supposed to kill the entire family. That had led to his demotion to Tokubetsu Jonin and a torture session with a Biki. After he was done, Hayate had been constantly sick. His body never completely recovered, and according to Yugao, neither did his mind. Ah yes, I remember that. Too bad for him. I don't really see anything wrong with letting the baby live, but the missions have to be performed exactly as the client agreed upon. It was the Hokage's decision, as he could have negotiated with the client to let the newborn live or die. But once it is decided, the Anbu don't get to choose what to do. Takane nodded. I know. I had. She stopped mid-sentence as she realized what she was going to say. No matter how daring, Kushina was still a Konoha ninja, and Takane didn't think it would be good to say she hated her leader in front of Kushina, and later hoped to not be reported. But much to Takane's astonishment, Kushina spoke exactly what she wanted to say. Yeah, he is a senile old bastard. I hate him too. Kushina-sama, you shouldn't say things like that out loud. The rest of my squad is in the surrounding area. What if they hear? Takane tried to warn her. Kushina shook her head slowly as she tried to think of the best approach method. In a few moments, she decided to be direct about it and see what happens. Say, Takane, if I could give you and your clan a chance to live a free life, where you won't be completely isolated and economically crippled, would you take it? Takane looked at Kushina as if she was crazy. You know we won't be allowed to leave this village alive, and we won't get those things you promised inside this village. So what you're saying is sort of impossible. So you would just let a chance to get free go by and not take it? Take the coward's way out, Kushina asked, sounding genuinely curious. Takane didn't reply to her for an entire minute as she pursed her lips in thought. Finally making her decision, she responded to her calmly. Kushina-sama, please tell me what you plan to do. I give you my word, it won't get out no matter what. If there is a chance me and my clan can safely get out of here, I will help you convince them. If we don't think it will be possible, we won't interfere with you and leave us unharmed. Kushina grinned at her response. She would have almost regretted it if she had to kill this girl. But still, if they refused, they were going to die. She won't risk getting the entire village on her ass just because she left a loose end. There was no need to tell that to Takane, though. After a few minutes of explaining, during which Takane got shocked several times, the brunette slowly processed all the information in her mind. Kushina-sama, I can't believe it, we might actually have a chance, she exclaimed happily. It was unbelievable for her. To think there would be 2 villages helping them in their escape, however indirectly, as well so much firepower. If what Kushina said was true, then the Kurama clan actually stood a chance at freedom. A pretty good one. Don't worry about it. I hope you don't mind the rest of your squad's death, though. Kushina responded, sounding serious. If the girl didn't understand, she would have to accept the fact that some people were going to die for them to get out of here. Maybe more than some. Hey, not really. I don't know any of them much personally, so I don't really care. I will cover their deaths up as much as I can till the Chunin exams. With everyone being busy in the preparations for that event, it is less likely someone will notice. There are very few who can detect and get out of my genjutsu. Kushina smiled at her proud tone. Even though Takane was a ninja, she was so poor at deception that you could see right through her eyes what she was feeling. Unless she had you in a genjutsu, of course. But that didn't do anything to dull her skills. With Takane and the Kurama on their side, they could now cover up their weakest skill set. Genjutsu. She idly wondered why Naruto hadn't helped his sister out with it yet. Since Hitomi made the Sharingan to improve her fire affinity and genjutsu, she must have had some skill in those areas, which she probably taught Naruto. Well, it doesn't matter now. I'm sure he had his reasons. Or he just forgot. I won't be surprised, but maybe it's good for him to forget a few things. She shuddered like the pedophile's memories. After sneaking up on the Baku-masked Anbu, Kasumi stayed hidden, waiting for her seal to go off so that she can try and finish the Anbu as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the Baku-masked Anbu sat there in a kneeling positioning, doing his job by paying complete attention to the Kurama household and observing their activities. He briefly wondered why the Hokage had asked him to spy on the Kurama clan house, but pushed that thought aside before he could dwell on it properly. Anbu followed the Hokage's orders down to the last line, and then never questioned it, even if it was to kill your best friend. His father had taught him well. The Baku mask he now wore was handed down to him by his own father, who used to work under the Nidaim Hokage's direct command. He felt a foreboding feeling rise from the pit of his stomach. This was awfully similar to what his father told him happened with the Uchiha. Upon Madara's betrayal, the Nidaim had become suspicious of the Uchiha, and assigned his best Anbu, Tora, Baku, and Ushi to keep an eye on them. Years later, most Uchiha are now dead. Now that he was spying on the Kurama, will their fate be the same as the last clan that was under surveillance? He couldn't help but grimace at the thought. The clan didn't seem to have that many fighters. The only one beyond Jonin level was Takane, who was way too innocent to be of any real danger. At first, he didn't think she even belonged in ninja occupation. Of course, his opinion had changed when she knocked him out without moving a finger. Ever since that, Baku had stopped thinking of genjutsu as inconsiderable nuisance like before. That shit was dangerous. He hadn't even noticed when she caught him in an illusion, and the whole thing was not the least bit different from the real world. Inside the illusion, he had fought and effortlessly defeated Takane, just as he was basking in the glory of his victory. Though Takane dispelled the illusion and revealed him to be bound head to toe with a kunai at his throat. Turns out that he hadn't moved the least bit during the fight, except if you count being dragged off and tied down. It was completely humiliating for a veteran Anbu like him to be defeated so easily. But it taught him a good lesson. Don't piss off women. Especially those that look extra sweet and innocent. They are the real bitches. Kasumi briefly considered her options as she saw the seal glow. This was the first high-level ninja she was going to face, and there was no one around to help her out of. She got into a tight situation, so she had to be careful. Besides, she had to go as Naruto's backup too, as his task was harder more than twice when compared to hers. Unknown to her, Baku had noticed the slight glow behind his back in the reflection of a droplet of water on a leaf in front of him. He was known for his observation capabilities for a reason. Soon enough, there was a red flash behind Baku, and a kunai was driven right through his back. The Baku then dissolved into mud. Kasumi had been caught only a little off guard. She hadn't expected the Anbu to go down just like that, but she had been hoping for it. There weren't too many squads of Anbu in the entire village, so only the best were able to get in the elite organization. Baku had been expecting an attack, so he had decided to play it safe and replaced himself with a mud clone. Right now, he was thanking heavens he had. Thanks, Takane. If not for you, I would have grown too confident in my skills, and probably be dead by now. I was not expecting someone like that to come and attack me out of nowhere. And with that technique? You've got to be kidding me. Kasumi watched as the Anbu appeared a few feet in front of her. Genin Uzumaki, Kasumi. What is the meaning of this? Baku demanded. He couldn't in his right mind kill someone who had finally mastered the Hiroshin no Jutsu after the fourth Hokage. And if what he had seen right now was true, then she had mastered it beyond what even the Yondaime could ever hope for. Kasumi didn't bother to respond. What was the point in wasting time talking with a soon-to-be dead guy anyway? She rushed at her opponent at what could be considered high Jonin level speeds, swinging her kunai towards the older ninja in a horizontal arc, which he parried with his katana. I see. I will have to subdue you then, Genin, Baku declared. Kasumi almost felt like rolling her eyes at how he seemed to be scolding her for not following orders, considering she was trying to kill him. Without wasting any further time, she flashed right behind him and attempted to stab him again, which was once again parried, much to her frustration. So you use water to teleport, huh? Kasumi pursed her lips but didn't respond. The Anbu had correctly figured out how her technique worked. It was an impressive display of observation skills indeed. If I stretch this fight out, I'm not gonna win against this guy. Good thing he's alone. If he had anyone else to fight while he observed, I'd be in real trouble. She used her godlike control over water to materialize it wherever she needs to teleport to. Then she shaped that water into proper seals needed to perform the Hiroshin no Jutsu, which gave her a link to teleport herself to. While it was much harder to make seals out of water instead of ink, and in mid-air, she had been able to do it with enough patience and practice, combined with her naturally high affinity. Cage! Bunshin! Creating 10 clones, Kasumi re-engaged the Anbu in hand-to-hand combat, but this time all her clones joined in as well. The Anbu tried to hit them, but they would just flash away before his hit could land, followed by another flash at his blind spots where he got hit again and again. Damn it! Baku wheezed out as he tried to create some distance between himself and the clones. Unfortunately, that doesn't work well when they can move anywhere almost instantly. Baku escaped many times from death as he used the replacement technique. He didn't have enough time to perform any of the greater techniques from his giant arsenal. Even with hundreds of battles he had fought and all that experience, he found himself getting bruised and cut up. Okay, Yondaima-sama's technique isn't fucking funny. This is almost unfair. Screw you, Yondaime, for making this technique. Grr. He tried to perform replacement to avoid the piercing of his chest. Unfortunately, all the wounds he had received consecutively till now made themselves known. He was a second too late. Kasumi stared at the dead. Anbu, her clones, held up. With a mental command, they sealed the body in a scroll. Someone probably had a bounty on this guy's head, which will help with their funding when they cash it. The fact that she had just made her first kill didn't bother her. I hope Anyai-chan is okay. With Naruto. So let's see. There are 2 super strong guys I have to kill. I don't want to take them both on at the same time, so I will have to surprise kill one first. There is this awesome taijutsu dude, and the awesome ninjutsu dude. Well, now there will be the dead taijutsu dude, and soon to be dead ninjutsu dude. Don't be so overconfident, Naruto, Hitomi warned him. Don't be so concerned, we both know I can handle them. If I couldn't, then we won't be prepared for fighting our way out of the village, would we? Hitomi sighed as she gave him a mental nod. Still, don't forget why I got sealed in here. Bansho Tenin, Universal Pull. The cow-masked Anbu watched in fascination as his partner started flying. Dude, I knew you were good with moving your body around in taijutsu, but this is just too much. Why didn't you tell me you could fly? Tiger just looked on bewildered as he was lifted up in the air by an invisible force. I didn't know either. Maybe it's my hidden bloodline limit. Cow looked at him sympathetically. Man, now you're going to become breeding stock. I almost feel sorry for you. What do you mean almost? Tiger asked suspiciously. Cow gave him a light chuckle. Well, you do get lots of women, and this bloodline limit. Cow then watched as Tiger did something even more awesome. He flew backwards. Damn, you're already mastering it, he yelled as he followed behind his super partner. Tiger grinned widely behind his mask, but then got an alarmed look on his face. Wait, what if we are under Kurama Genjutsu and all this is just an illusion? Cow just scoffed. As if. You know Takane would detect that Genjutsu shit and dispel it for us. It's her duty. If she doesn't do it, she will have a fate worse than whatever ours could be. And there is no way there is anyone who could escape to Hyga and get to us. He blissfully ignored all the ceiling barriers and space-time techniques being used, as well as the fact that the Hamga didn't have their Byakugan activated all the time. Naruto slowly and discreetly kept pulling the idiotic Anbu towards him. Both of these Anbu were extremely skilled, but they were idiots and often acted retarded. Well, you know what they say, if you act like something all the time, you might just become it. But once they get serious, they will be troublesome. He should kill them both before they become serious at all. Covered with a minor spying genjutsu he had learned from Hitomi, he slowly created a chakra rod in his other hand. Tiger didn't get to comprehend what happened when a black rod penetrated his chest. It was merely a battle reflex that saved him. His body responded on its own as he found himself replaced with a tree log. Both Anbu immediately got into their battle modes. Stupidity was their way of coping with their lives, like porn was for Kakashi, or maybe he was just a pervert. Either way, they were now completely serious. Formation C. Tiger signaled at his partner, who nodded in approval. F-tune. Rapid show. Wind release. Violent wind palm. Katan. Gokaki no Jutsu. A fire release, grand fireball. Naruto stared impassively at the incoming attacks, which formed a violent torrent of flames targeted at him. F. Jutsu Kain. A blocking technique absorption cell. The ninjutsu attack got sucked inside the blocking barrier. With a few subtle improvements to the technique, Naruto now got to not only negate the technique, but the chakra powering up that technique will now be added to his own reserves as well. Gritting his teeth at the futility of their combined jutsu, Tiger rushed in towards Naruto in an attempt to subdue him with his superior taijutsu. Naruto formed a chakra rod in his right hand as he stared at the Tiger Anbu rushing at him with impressive speed. Within a few quick strikes, Naruto found himself being pushed back as the Anbu used his katana to parry and deflect all of Naruto's strikes from the chakra rod while keeping up his assault with his other hand and legs. Compared to Anko, this guy is on a whole other level. Meanwhile, the cow-masked Anbu watched the combination of taijutsu and kenjutsu fight with his senses on high alert, waiting for an opening in his opponent's guard to take advantage of. After receiving a few minor cuts and bruises, Naruto had had enough. Shinra Tensei. Heavenly subjugation of the omnipresent Dado. The Tiger Anbu was thrown back painfully with some damage, but he regained his balance in time. Go, he signaled his partner, getting a nod from the man. This boy's techniques are very unconventional. I had no time to prepare for that attack. I hope this combination attack works. Ninpo. Mashi Hikatsuke. A ninja art, demonic death attraction. Mud rose from the ground around Naruto and formed into various growling dog-like demonic creatures. Mud-brown skin and blood-red eyes and a constant drool of acidic substance from their mouths would have made any normal opponent at least a little intimidated. The technique was an A-rank ninjutsu which worked by marking an area as the attack zone, which Tiger marked around Naruto while his taijutsu battled. Then the ninja will pump his chakra into the ground and use demonic animals made of mud to attack the enemy. Grrr! Naruto slashed an incoming animal's head clean off and watched as it reformed from mud. I see. When I killed that animal, the Anbu guy put some more chakra into the ground to reform it. But it will take too long to exhaust him this way. So killing them one by one will do no good, huh? He questioned with a smirk, while the Anbu didn't bother to respond. Shinra Tensei. This time Naruto pumped in much more of his chakra into the technique, not only killing all the demonic mud animals, but also throwing away the two Anbu with a crushing amount of force. Gah! It seems the enemy is much more skilled than to be taken down by a single technique. No choice, mate. Tiger looked at Cow, who nodded in agreement. I will keep him distracted. You go alert the others, Cow responded. It's no use, since our scouting Hyga didn't alert us till now. They are probably disabled, dead or busy fighting the boy's accomplices, Tiger remarked. Both reached upon the common conclusion. They had to work together and disable or kill Naruto. As the two men rushed at the team with the intent to kill, they were no longer willing to take any risks. Even though the boy seemed to have some power that let him repel and attract almost anything, he didn't seem to be using it very often. Maybe he couldn't. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he saw both men rushing at him even after witnessing his last gravity attack. While he had come a long way, it still took him full 10 seconds to recharge his Shinra Tensei, and he preferred to save it for tricky situations. Efiton, K's no Yaiba. Wind release, blades of winding, Naruto exclaimed as he held out his hands towards the incoming duo. They separated in two different directions to avoid the attack, but kept progressing towards Naruto. Tiger reached him first and came at him with a palm strike aimed at his left shoulder, while Cow attacked with a kick at his right kneecap. Naruto twisted himself in an effort to avoid both the attacks, but knew that while in mid-air, he would be vulnerable. True to his prediction, Tiger took full advantage of the situation. Aha! Naruto winced at the power of the kick that connected with his head, sending him flying for a few feet before being intercepted by the cow Anbu. Before Cow could kick him again, though, Naruto used a water whip to catch a tree branch and jumped to it. Subin, water release, water whip. Keton, Keshi Makugahara, I fire release, exploding flame crater. The blonde was surprised to say the least as he witnessed the ninjutsu specialist call upon two elements at once, earth and fire. While it was normal for high-ranking ninja to be able to use two elements, to use them at the same time required a level of skill that was beyond most. A tunnel appeared right in front of the cow, masked Anbu, in which he breathed out a torrent of extremely hot flames. The flames proceeded towards Naruto at astonishing speeds, melting the rocks and soil in the way. Finally, an explosion below Naruto warned him off as he used Kawarimi, just in time to see the log get blown to cinders and ash by the molten rock and fire that had exploded from the ground below him. Smile formed on Naruto's face as he recognized that the fight will indeed be challenging, and not as boring as he was expecting it to be. While he doesn't have the bloodline for lava release, he used the earth release in combination with fire release to create lava. He may not be able to control it after it is formed, but directing it before it is formed seems pretty productive if done right. So this is how people use Hyoton in Snow Country without a bloodline. I'd love to draw this fight out a bit more, but these two seem to be reading my moves better with each passing second, so I better not take any chances. Mokuton, Ijutsu, Jukai Kotan, wood release secret technique. Nativity of a world of trees. Thick trees and branches sprouted from the ground to entangle and restrain the two Anbu, who jumped and moved to avoid them to the best of their ability. Their resistance seemed futile as the trees and branches maneuvered appropriately for both attack and defense within instants. Does this kid have any limits? First he used some kind of invisible force which makes you fly, and now Mokuton. Any chance he is one of Hashirama-sama's descendants? It wouldn't be a good thing to kill him then, Tiger replied. It wouldn't be a good thing to die and fail our mission either, Cow remarked dryly. Let's subdue him first. If he dies, it was your fault. Same to you. The two Anbu didn't get to comprehend more as their legs got trapped in some small branches and they tripped, landing face first on the ground as the branches covered up the rest of their bodies. Cow looked at Tiger. Well, looks like we're fucked. You are indeed, Naruto said, appearing before them with a cheerful grin on his face. But if it gives you any peace of mind, you both were worthy opponents, and I would have liked to play with you some more. But Kaya-chan said I had to finish this as soon as possible. So, goodbye, I guess. He finished as his dojutsu became visible, finally. Cow stared at the kid with something akin to defeat in his eyes. The branches had left only their heads unrestrained, and even then the hold was tight enough for them to not be able to move a single millimeter. There was no way they could escape now, and the branches were too strong to break, probably reinforced with the kid's chakra. He saw as the kid's eyes changed. The white became black, and the cerulean blue iris expanded, and then changed into a multicolor metallic rippled design, followed by the appearance of 9 tomos that were in constant motion around the central black dot. Naruto put his hand on Tiger's forehead, and with the formation of some blue chakra, he withdrew it. Rinnegan, Tamash Toradashi, or Rinnegan, Soul Extraction. This left the Tiger Anbu lifeless, and now Naruto had a human-sized purple bubble in his hand. With a brief application of chakra, Ranjin came out of his tattoo, with which he stabbed the soul and absorbed it within his sword. The tattoo on his hand changed from 14 to 15, as the purple bubble was completely absorbed. Cow was horrified by the display. Did that guy just do something to Tiger's soul? Something obviously not pleasant. You're next. No. Don't overreact. You're just going to die and get your soul sealed in my sword to be used later. Of course. No, I refuse. Shut up. 15 minutes later, on the way to Kurama compound Hop Hop in the trees. And that is why you shouldn't ever get wounded. What if those weapons they used on you were poisoned? Naruto looked at his scolding elder sister and sighed again. I'm sorry, alright? You've been lecturing me for 5 minutes straight. I'll be more careful from now on, I promise. You better be, because I'm not letting you bite me again. Even as she huffed, Natsumi knew she wouldn't hesitate to let him do it if needed. Naruto pouted but didn't reply. He had no fetish for blood like Anko, but Natsumi's blood was extremely intoxicating and addictive. It was liquid euphoria. He was sure if they started to sell even a little of it every once in a while, they'd be super rich. Of course, he would rather have it for himself than sell it. Natsumi looked at him suspiciously as he stole a few glances at her neck. She wasn't being honest with him, really. If he did get poisoned, she would certainly let him bite her again, unless she could cure it quickly. But she didn't want him to get purposely poisoned for that. Naruto turned his attention to Nina. Say, you really wanted those 2 Hyuga for yourself. What did you do? Apart from killing them? Nina's face lit up at the memory as a wide grin crept on her face. Well, first. No, don't. Kushina interrupted before Nina could start her rather long description of what she did with the 2 unfortunate Hyuga. Trust me, Naruto, you don't want to know. For some reason, Naruto felt the need to comply his mother's wishes as he looked at Nina suspiciously. Maybe it was better if he didn't know. He was a guy after all, and knowing it might leave him mentally scarred, even worse than Orochimaru's memories. He decided to drop the subject. Glancing around, his eyes settled on the person leading them. She had light brown hair and a ponytail, cute butt, and from what he could tell, D-cup breasts. She was 5'2", not really tall, but she looked cute enough. Since she was moving ahead of him, that was all he could see. Following her son's gaze, Kushina's eyes settled on Takane as she realized she hadn't introduced them yet. Oh right, sorry I forgot to do this. This is Takane Kurama from Kurama branch family. She's currently the best ninja from their clan. Takane blushed at the praise, but no one except Nina noticed, as she had her Byakugan activated. Is this girl really that good of a kunoichi? To blush from that little praise means she doesn't have a very good control over her display of emotions. Someone so easy to read couldn't be that tough. Takane-san, this is my family. The handsome blonde is Naruto, my son and lover. She didn't get to continue though, as Takane lost her balance, fell down from the branch she was going to hop from, and landed face first on the ground with a loud splat. Naruto couldn't help but ask, is she dead? Chapter 8. Hi! Here is your next. For those who have forgotten the current ages, I will mention them again. Name, physical age, by birth. Naruto Uzumaki, 18, D12.
Kasumi Uzumaki, 16, 12.
Natsumi Uzumaki, A14, E14. Kushina Uzumaki, on 19, 30 Tio. Nina Uzumaki, 18, 80. Hitomi Kainbai, 19. Makoto Uchiha, I30. Madara Uchiha, 90. Nagata Yahiko Konan, D24. Jiraiya Tsunade Orochimaru, V48. Anko Mitarashi, At 24 second. Hiruzen Sarutobi, Da 68. Chapter 18. Unyielding Conviction. Is she dead? Kushina carefully examined Takane's still body before giving her a light kick on the ribs. No response. Damn it, seems like my declaration came as too much of a shock to her, she mumbled. It seemed that poor Takane had been unable to accept the fact that her idol was in a sexual relationship with her own son, and thus had probably expired. Silence reigned upon the group, and no one was sure how to deal with the situation. We should give our short-term ally a proper burial, Nina solemnly suggested. Naruto nodded as he created a deep hole with earth manipulation. He was the only one in their little group with that affinity, and he had trained in each element till he was at least proficient in its use. He grabbed Takane's legs as Kasumi grabbed the girl's hands, and together, they hoisted her up. They were just going to throw Takane in the hole when she groaned. Ugh, what happened to me? She slowly opened her eyes and looked around, and noticed she was being held up next to a giant hole in the ground. That's when she panicked. What the hell do you think you guys are doing? She asked while breathing heavily. How did she fall unconscious again? She didn't remember. Oh my god, you're alive! Kasumi jerked back in surprise, which was followed by Naruto. Needless to say, Takane fell on her butt. They almost couldn't believe it. Takane was alive, and they had made sure she was dead before they started burying her. Okay, maybe they had been rushing it. Ow, my cute butt! Takane groaned in pain. What the hell? We were just waiting for you to wake up. Kushina answered innocently. Too innocently? Yeah, we totally didn't assume you were dead, Nina nervously added. Takane looked at them suspiciously for a few moments, trying to detect a lie in their words. After a while, she gave up and then tried to find any hint of words in their lies. That's when all her recent memories came back, slamming into her face like a ton of bricks. Kushina was fucking her son, Naruto, her perfect idol. Immediately, a cloud of depression appeared around her as her surroundings were completely covered in darkness. The spotlight fell upon her as she cried and bawled her eyes out. How could you? No. The Uzumaki watched in awe as they never realized when Takane had caught them in the genjutsu. Takane kept crying her eyes out, mumbling, How could you do this to my dreams, and my idol was supposed to be perfect? This oddly reminds me of the Gai Li genjutsu, Kushina mumbled to herself, but everyone heard her. Kushina had been going on one of her missions when she had noticed the spectacle that Jonin Genin often made, and needless to say, she could never forget it. Naruto and the others looked confused for a moment before finally, Naruto asked her who Gai and Lee were, and what she was talking about. Before Kushina could refuse to scar their minds with those horrible things, Takane Kurama was on their faces with the words revenge hovering over her head. Let me show you, she whispered with a grin that just radiated evil. Kushina looked alarmed as she tried to frantically run away. You'll never get me. Too late now. Kushina realized her legs were bound with illusionary trees, or maybe Takane had Mokuton, which she highly doubted. Damn, she swore. Others couldn't understand what was so alarming about the situation. Takane was supposedly an ally, so if she wanted to show them something, Jinjutsu was as good a way as any to do so. Naruto looked on curiously as a man clad in a weird green spandex with bowl haircut, freakishly large eyebrows, blindingly white teeth, and an annoying smile showed up. He was already regretting agreeing to see this. It only got worse as another similar figure, albeit appearing younger, appeared a few feet away from him. Their eyes fell upon each other, and then flames burst from them, signifying the activation of a possible dojutsu. Never heard about this dojutsu before, Naruto thought. They started running towards each other, yelling out the other's name. Tears fell from their eyes, showing how much they were being strained by the dojutsu. Or so Naruto thought. Lee! Gai-sensei! Lee! Gai-sensei! Lee! Gai-sensei! They hugged and cried in front of the sunset, which had appeared out of nowhere. Rest of this scene was censored. Naruto watched it all, horrified and petrified, along with his two sisters. Kushina and Nina had long since broken out of the illusion thanks to their battle readiness. Poor siblings had been too terrified to try anything once they had seen the two monstrosities hug. What made it worse was they all had activated their dojutsu in an effort to better read chakra patterns and probably break out of the illusion, but that only served to permanently burn those images into their memory. Luckily for her, Hitomi had been taking a rare nap in Naruto's mind, and had escaped a fate worse than death without even knowing. Uchiha compound. It had taken her a long time to bury these thoughts deep within her in hopes of forgetting them, but yet today it was with a conviction that she had sat down to come to terms with her inner turmoil. Uchiha Mikoto, mother of Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke, and one of the few remaining Uchiha alive, was currently pondering on the reason her son would massacre their own clan. When the incident had taken place, whether it be considered fortunate or unfortunate, she was visiting her friend Uzumaki Kushina and hence had remained alive. Her other son Sasuke was within the compound, but for some reason Itachi had spared him. While there was no doubt that it was Itachi who did it, given the countless proofs, she didn't believe even for a second that Itachi had snapped and killed the entire Uchiha clan. There had to be some other reason. That's what she believed. Sasuke's memories of that night had been reviewed in front of the entire council thanks to the Yamanaka, and there was no doubt that Itachi had killed the clan. But it just didn't make any sense. Hence the council had concluded that Itachi had snapped under the intense pressure of being an Anbu captain at such a young age, and had gone mad. But she had seen Itachi when he had sliced off Fugaku's head. She had seen his eyes and his expression from Sasuke's memories. While the young Uchiha hadn't been able to see it in his outraged state, Mikoto was not only a jonin but also Itachi's mother.